Hello and welcome to Front Row Racing. It's Friday, it's nearly 7:30 p.m, which means it's time for the Front Row Racing FRR-idays Cup Round 3 in China. Now, the Shanghai International Circuit is a very, very awkward one, and I think a few of the drivers may struggle a little bit, simply because it's a track where you want high speed, but you need grip. And getting that balance is going to be very, very difficult for the drivers. Now, in a few moments, I'm just going to go through a few items that I would like to mention. But first of all, I'm from Row Racing DP, otherwise known as Dave Lays in Beds, and to a degree I wish I was still laying in bed right now. I could do with a bit more sleep. But I'm joined in the commentary box by Front Row Racing RI, our intrepid pit lane reporter. So how are you this evening, Ray? Are you looking forward to an evening of commentary? We've got FRR-idays and then we've got the PCF later on.
Yes, I am. And you need to chuck the woman you bring home out earlier so that you get a good night's sleep.
No, what it is, I need a woman to tire me out so I get a good night's sleep. At least that's what my mother would say. My mother is quite funny when it comes to stuff like that. If any of me or my brothers say they're not getting enough sleep, then it doesn't take long for the mother to get in touch with the partner and say, come on, you're not doing your job right. Anyway, okay, some little bits of information I just want to quickly mention. This is mainly for the benefit of new people, new viewers, but also for the drivers that are involved in the FRR-idays Cup, for those people that perhaps aren't 100% certain of what it is. Basically, this session, the FRR-idays is a feeder series into our F1 leagues. You come and get involved, drive however you drive. If it's clean and it's fair, then you're going to be able to get in effectively onto the reserve driver list. Once you get onto the reserve driver list, our F1 teams then have the opportunity to choose you from a list of drivers if they need a reserve for a race. But the FRR-idays Cup settings, assists are allowed, so for people who want to use them, they can. The cars are set to equal. Dynamic weather is on. Damage is off, though, just to give people a bit of a second chance. Parc Ferme is off. It's a short qualifying session with a 25% race distance. Friday is race day, and we like to get the session going at about 7:30, which it is about right now. Now, some other little bits of information. This is just, I'm putting it out there for the general public and for our current FRR-idays drivers. And these are sort of basic rules from the FRR rulebook. There is a rulebook, it is available on YouTube. So for people that are wanting to get into our F1 leagues, you need to be aware that there are front row racing rules, like the World Championship and the World Series. So here's a few of those basics. The World Championship and World Series drivers must record their whole event as part of their entry requirements. Corner cutting, or as we call it, ETOs, is not permitted. The white lines mark the edge of the track. Curbs are not part of the racetrack. At street circuits, though, sometimes it's a yellow line. Pit entries and exits must be entered and exited correctly, not too much to ask there. And start of the race and first corner collisions are dealt with more harshly than any other collisions. That's just to try and promote everybody getting round the first corner. Oh, heavy rain here in China. That's going to distract me from what I was just doing. But we were talking to a few of the drivers, and they were saying about in the World Series race last night, they can't believe how much it rained and then stopped raining. And I said, well, it could happen here. And we've got rain. Intermediate tyre conditions, though. So, Ray, while you just have a quick look at the weather information, I'm going to carry on with what I was just saying. Another thing we in Front Row Racing like to do is emphasise giving room to your competitors. It doesn't matter who has the racing line or who is where, a car's width must be given. But obviously, if you go for ridiculous dive bombs, you're going to get yourself caught out. No abusive behaviour will be tolerated within races, on recordings or on social media. But stewards' guides are available for all of the tracks with guidelines and ETO lift procedures for each circuit. So there is plenty of information out there on our YouTube channel for all of the FRR drivers, or even for drivers that are perhaps watching the broadcast and thinking, I'd like to get involved, what's the deal? Have a look at the Front Row Racing YouTube channel, and if you do want to get involved, find Front Row Racing on Facebook, send us a message. That's the way to go about it. There are no entry requirements in the FRR-idays Cups other than just turn up and drive nice and clean. And Front Row Racing, we don't do any additional stewarding or anything like that in the FRR-idays sessions. We just keep that for the F1 leagues. Now, I know that Ray has got some interesting bits of information. He's been doing a little bit of research, and in a way, Ray, I think it could be a little bit useless given the wet conditions we've got right now. But what you wanted to do was have a look at what the lap times were for the FRR-idays event last season, but also the World Championship event last season, to give some kind of an idea of what sort of lap times we could be looking at here. So, do you want to give us that information?
Well, the fastest FRR-idays driver last season was Jay Tomo, and it was a 1:38.2. The World Championship driver was, the fastest one was Kev, 1:87, and that was a 1:35.4. So there's a big difference here.
Yep, there is a big difference. Now, there were people in that FRR-idays session that were quicker than Jay Tomo in qualifying last season, but they were current league drivers. But Jay Tomo was the fastest of the FRR-idays drivers in that particular session. Are we going to get anywhere near those lap times? In these conditions, no. With it being as wet as it is at the moment, the guys being on the intermediate tyres, they're not going to reach those kind of lap times. But anyway, onto what we're seeing on the track. I've got English Boy just about to go through Sector 1 for the first time with a 29.5, but have you had a chance to have a look at what the weather radar's saying?
A wet start with potential showers throughout.
Oh, so
and, even the wee graph at the bottom, the 10 minute, 20 minute, 30 minutes, it's just got a cloud with raindrops.
Oh, so it looks like we could be in for a completely wet session. The drivers may hope, though, that at the end of qualifying, with a little bit of break that they get, the weather can clear. There are patches of blue sky up over to the left of the circuit where English Boy is right now, but we can see the dark clouds. But then light blue in the distance. I think it could... Well, it's either going to brighten up a little bit, or it's just going to get a lot worse. Now, I have seen we've got quite a few messages popping in through YouTube. If you do want to send messages into the commentary team, you can try. If Ray's able to keep an eye on those, he will.
I've been dealing with them and
chatting away.
Yeah.
No problem. I mean, if anyone that's watching the broadcast wants to ask any questions, anything to do with FRR-idays, feel free to do so. We may not be able to answer it, as English Boy goes very, very wide at the final corner, sets a lap time of a 1:46.8. Twist Royalty not far behind him. I think he's going to beat that lap time. He is, with a 1:43.6. Roadrunner coming up to the final corner, and see how he gets on through the final sector. It's a 1:48.6. I'm guessing he's perhaps had a little bit of an off somewhere, but we're right on board with him for another lap, because in these conditions, in a qualifying session, you do kind of have to be careful of using up too many sets of intermediate tyres, because if it does rain for the race, you're going to want some there. But at the same time, you need to do some laps in the qualifying session. Sometimes one of the best ways to do it is use a set of tyres, go and do 4 or 5 laps, see what lap time you can do, see if you need to make a change to the setup, and go for one more run on a brand new set of intermediates and do 2 or 3 laps and see how you get on. You could, if you wanted, just go and do one flying lap on 2 or 3 sets of tyres, but it does limit what options, well, not options, how many intermediates, brand new intermediates, you're going to have for the race. I'm fairly sure you get 4 sets of intermediate tyres for the event. I could be wrong there. I don't really look at how many sets of inters I've usually got.
I'll
But
just tell you.
yeah, you do that, Ray. That's a good point. We're sat in the pits. We can go and have a look. Now, while we're watching F1 Roadrunner, he's just gone faster than he did previously in Sector 1. He's gone faster previously in Sector 2. Ran a little wide, though, on the exit of Turn 13. It's a nice banked corner, but when it's wet, it's very easy to just slip right over the top of it. It's a little bit like if you get too much chocolate sauce on the girlfriend, it's very easy to end up sliding straight off and onto the floor, ending up in hospital covered in chocolate with the nurse saying, "What's going on?" Oh, and F1 Roadrunner's just gone completely sideways out of the penultimate corner. He's heading to the pits. I'm a little bit surprised about that. Now the pit lane here is something that I must admit I had actually completely forgotten about. The pit lane here at China, and of drivers, you can kind of thank me for this one. I do argue the case of the drivers when it comes to doing the stewards guides. I don't get the final say on what are lenience, what is an ETL and so on the stewards guides. But I do argue the case for the drivers on occasion. And the pit lane here is one of them. And I argued the case of, look, it's a tricky pit lane, give the guys a bit of leeway. And if I remember rightly, on the stewards guide, they did agree to, you've got to enter the pit lane correctly between the two white lines, but then when the left turn is, you can go up to the wall. I could be wrong on that one. I will have to check the stewards guide myself, but I do remember discussing it with them and saying, come on, give them a bit of leeway here. But anyway,
last season, there's a curb there, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
It draws them in. I know last season the stewards using.
Sorry, Ray, your mic's just dropped out a little bit there. Gone a bit echoey, difficult to hear you. But yeah, I mean, as Ray was saying, I think last season there was a bit of leeway given on that corner. Sector 1, which is actually a fairly decent Sector 1 from what we've seen so far. Oh, you have got to be joking. Ray, are you still at the circuit?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Okay. I've been disconnected there then. And I bet no one sent me an invite.
I sent you two.
You sent me two. Okay. Bear with me a second then. We'll see if we can get back in. I do apologise about this, viewers. Just have to bear with us a few moments, see if we can get back to the circuit. I hope this isn't the same issue that we had last Thursday during the World Series, where it booted me from the circuit and then they wouldn't let me back in. But we shall wait and see. We have been doing quite a bit of research as to why that happened. We've got a few theories. We have seen on the Codemasters forums quite a few people have been complaining about that particular error message and booting everybody from the circuit. So we'll just have to wait and see if it's going to allow me back to the track. Now, while the drivers will have been going round in the slightly wet conditions, as we mentioned, they will be hoping that the circuit dries up a little bit. I mean, you're still there at the racetrack, Ray. Does it look like it's drying up at all?
Nah.
No. Well, while you are there, I'm at the moment on my way back to the track, but not there yet. Do you want to have a quick run through the order for us, just in name?
First, RDB 86. Yes, got it right.
Yeah.
Second, Mr. Hamilton 44. Third, Gaunt 721. Fourth, Twist Royalty. Fifth, Millstar 12. Sixth, English Boy 123. Seventh, Will Butler. 8th is Drew. 9th is F1 Roadrunner. 10th Stringy B. John Rhinos, and it's Hammer Time, and Azamot have not set a time. I think they've retired and starting from the back.
Either that, or they have had the same issue that I had, and they were errored out. That's the advantage of sending multiple invites. It means that they should be able to get back in. And if you just want to quickly check on the YouTube messages there, I've seen that a few have popped in lately. And now that I'm not actually in the pit lane anymore, I can't give you any sort of sector times or anything like that. And interestingly enough, it says that Twist Royalty is in first place, but as Ray mentioned, it was RDB. So it may take until the end of the qualifying session for it really to sort itself out. Now, you will have seen that I haven't reloaded my game after getting disconnected. And a big part of that is because I want to try something. This is all part of what happened last week, having a few theories about what could have caused it, what to try if it happens again. Now on this occasion I haven't reloaded the game, and reloading the game is something we do suggest that our drivers do for league races. If they've been playing on the game in any way, shape or form, reload the game. It does help with synchronicity. So I'm doing this now without a reload to see if I can get back in, to see if it is going to completely desynchronize me. And the reason for that is because last week when we got the error, shut down the live stream, restarted the PlayStation, reloaded the game, and it was giving me error messages, PlayStation Network error messages. And that was one of the things that really kind of frustrated me. It's like, okay, it could be a Codemasters issue, but then getting the PlayStation Network error messages was, okay, perhaps it's a PSN issue. And then, yeah, it goes on and on. So sometimes you have to try different things just to see if something else will work or not.
Well, Hammer Time's definitely starting from the back. He's just messaged in the live chat. He wants to see how he'll get on coming from the back.
So he's going to try his luck from the rear of the grid then. Could be a bit of a...
because I would need that.
I was going to say, could be a bit of a risk. Could be a risky manoeuvre that. And also we've got Stringy B here. He's either going defensive or he's just giving himself plenty of room. Now obviously something else that happened yesterday in the World Series race, which kind of baffled us, and it's another thing that we're doing a bit of sort of groundwork research on. We get to have a look at the pit lane here. You are allowed to enter the pit lane like that, as far as I remember from the steward's guide. But yeah, one of the things that happened in the World Series race yesterday was there was two drivers that weren't visible on the broadcast. Now, some months ago, that situation occurred in a slightly different way, whereas you could see them on the circuit, but you couldn't go and ride on board with them like I am now with John Rhinos. Yet, yesterday, it was a similar situation. When the driver was in the pits, the car was visible. As soon as they drove out of the pits, their car went completely invisible. So it's almost as if that previous issue has changed. They've probably fixed the original issue, but now the car goes invisible, which is now a new issue for Codemasters to try and sort out. So we've done a little bit of research on that one, trying to find out what kind of connection the drivers have got. And the two drivers that weren't visible were wireless connected. So there's a possibility that that played its part. But then we asked the question of, okay, on the broadcast, I couldn't see them. But Ray, for example, he could see them. The drivers could see them. It's like, okay, perhaps then it's a collusion of two separate things. Those drivers being wirelessly connected, us doing the live stream and spectating. Because Ray wasn't doing a live stream, but he was spectating and could see them. So it could be the two. We're obviously perhaps using a lot of power doing the live stream, and if their connections are a little weaker on the wireless, that could both together cause that particular issue. But it's all stuff that we have to think about, see if we can work out, see if there's a way around it. Now, for for example, in the World Series race last week, I mean, you can back me up on this one, Ray. The World Series race last week, for anyone that saw that race or seen the highlights footage, will know that Adam 4600 had unbelievably bad lag. Like, seriously bad lag. But he was talked to, he was given some advice, and again, it was found that he was on a wireless connection on an internet that's not particularly very strong. So he was advised, right, if you can, get yourself an Ethernet cable. And I was a little surprised when I found out he said, well, what's one of them? But he got himself an Ethernet cable, right? He then plugs in that Ethernet cable for the race last night in the World Series. And he goes from having unbelievably bad lag where no one can race against him and he's wiping people out, to having no lag whatsoever. So doing little things yourself, like being hardwired, can make a massive difference. But anyway, we shall continue our investigation, shall we say, about this error connection, because it is frustrating when it happens. But anyway, right, Ray, how long have we got left of the session?
30 seconds to go.
Okay, so the drivers have got 50 seconds to cross the line then. We're looking at Drew at the moment. He's shown interest recently of joining, well, he's shown interest for quite some time of joining in on the Friday's events. He's managed to get in, and it's absolutely hammering it down. He may be regretting wanting to join, given that there is wet weather. But this is where, for example, having indestructible cars is an advantage. Go on, what have you got for us with your little cheeky laugh?
I'll be sitting there telling the missus, I'm not doing this again, I've had to bring my waterproofs with me.
Have you ever tried driving in those, I'm trying to think what they're called now. I know the waterproofs, but you know, like you get the high-vis, bright yellow waterproof trousers and jacket. Yeah. I used to walk with dogs, so I used to wear the wellies, the whole lot, walking the dog at night. Oh, no, yeah. Did you ever freak yourself out where like it sounds like someone's walking behind me, and eventually you work out, no, it's the sound of the waterproof trousers rubbing together between your legs? It's like, hang on, I'm speeding up here and so are they. I daren't look behind. But I did that once when I was on a bike. It wasn't with waterproof trousers. I was going through this park and it was pitch black, right? Now, a couple of nights before, I was going through this park and nearly drove into a couple that were walking along because I was riding on this path, and literally all of a sudden 2 people appear into me. I end up off the bike, sliding down a riverbank, nearly in the river. So that totally freaked me out. 2 nights later, I'm riding through this park again, and as I'm riding through, I'm like, hang on a minute, I've got the sound of someone running behind me. Okay, I don't like this. I speed up a little bit. Okay, they're getting faster. I'm starting to panic, right? So, right, let's put the hammer down. I'm going, and they're going faster and faster. Totally freaked out, get to the other side of the park, turn around, no one there. I'm like, what the hell? It took about 2 minutes for me to realise it was my keys jangling in my pocket. So yeah, anyway, okay, qualifying session is now over. We've got Mr. Hamilton 44 on pole position with a 142.2, Gonk in second place with a 142.8, RDB in third with a 43.2, Roadrunner in fourth on a 43. Then we've got Twist Royalty, Millstar, Stringy B, W Butler, English Boy, John Rhinos, Drew, It's Hammer Time, and Azamor. Now, Azamor did let me know he may have difficulty with connection this evening. He's waiting for his internet to be repaired. So, if he's in the race or he's not, we don't know, we won't know. But if it doesn't last long, it's more than likely down to his internet connection. But it'll be interesting to see if we get to see how It's Hammer Time gets on going from the back of the grid. But anyway, it's time for the front row racing FRR-idays Cup round. Is it wet? It is. At least the drivers have had the opportunity to do some laps in qualifying in the wet conditions. It'll be interesting to see how they can transfer that on into this race, and also whether the weather is going to get any better. Now, Ray, last night, while we were doing the commentary on the World Series, I asked you whether you thought it could dry up again towards the end of the race and then put the dry tyres on. You said, no, it's too wet. So, I'll ask you, before the race even starts, do you think it could dry up and they'll put the dry tyres on?
Possibly. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Not with the forecast. It says showers throughout, so I reckon there's going to be showers.
I am going to agree with you. Okay, the drivers are ready. The lights are ready. We've got 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And away they go. And Azamort's had an absolutely blinder of a start there. Either that or he's got a jump start system on that particular car. So as they head up into the very, very tricky sort of double, triple, quadruple style apex of turn 1, very easy to end up out wide as a few cars are without giving the inside line for turn 2. So far, looks like everybody around the first 2 corners with no major incidents. That's good to see. Gives them opportunity then to settle down for the races. 5th, 6th and 7th are battling, and that's a sponsorship sign that's going to need repairing.
Drag me a B.
Yeah, Toro Rosso, we're going to have to send a bottle of whiskey to whoever that sponsor was. Now, it is very, very difficult in these conditions for the drivers because they need to get the tyres up to temperature. They need to find where the grip is. Oh, a little bit of contact. Twist Royalty and a Toro Rosso. They need to find where the grip is. There's going to be so many different setups as well that it's not going to be easy for these guys. Oh, Twist Royalty is off. That was a big, big, big crash. Again, that's where the advantage of the indestructible F1 car comes in. Yes, it's a big crash. His race should be over, but that's not the point of this event. The point is to see how you get on with your driving, and at the moment, he's now got the opportunity to get back in it. Okay, Ray, who have you got showing as being in first place? Because I'm looking at a Mercedes and a Williams attacking each other up at the front.
And I'm just getting there, and it is Mr. Hamilton and RDB. They're fighting for first place.
Okay, so at least then for this race this evening, the leaders are both visible. Now, the front 3 we've got at the moment, Mr. Hamilton 44, RDB and F1 Roadrunner, and it's Hammer Time 44, were having a fairly good battle last week, but they had some visibility issues of their own, which could be down to reloading the game or not reloading the game. Either way, we've got 2 of them really going for it up at the front as they try and make their way out of turn 2. Now, I had a quick look at the strategy before the start of this race, and it did say a one-stop strategy at pitting around about lap 7 or 8. Do you think, Ray, that any of these guys, if it's going to keep raining, are going to gamble on doing a no-stop on the intermediate tyre?
A no-stop on the intermediate tyre for 14 laps? That could be tough.
It could be fun. It could be very, very interesting. I mean, I don't think anyone will be able to do it. China is a circuit that, although there isn't lots and lots of corners, the corners punish the tyres, especially in the dry conditions.
Especially turn 13.
Yes. Turn 13 really hammers the front left tyre. In the wet conditions, though, it may not be too bad. It may not get as much punishment, but there's the big possibility of the cars sliding all over the place. So it's one of those things as well. I mean, most drivers will know that a set of intermediate tyres that have done 5, 6, 7, 8 laps, they'll probably still be okay. But you compare what lap times they can do against a brand new set of intermediate tyres, they'll be a second to 2 seconds faster a lap easily. Okay, we've got Gonk having a look at Millstar, trying to make his way around the outside of turn 1, trying to give him the inside of 2, but he's not been able to get it done. The grip just not quite there on the front end of that Lotus for him. Now, something I didn't mention earlier on was that the drivers are free to pick whichever cars they want. There are no teammates, there are no team orders, I wouldn't have thought, and there is no standings for the FRR-idays Cup. It's not about a championship, it's all about your driving, how you drive. If you want to have standings and a league, that's what the World Championship and the World Series is there for. This is the way into the F1 leagues to try and get yourself into those. Now, John Rhino's here in 7th place. Looks like he's got a couple of cars behind him. It's Azamore 590. Now, Azamore's got Will Butler right behind him. Azamore and Will Butler, I think they've raced against each other in years gone by. And Azamore at the moment, still with us on the circuit. Oh, as Will Butler chucks it up the inside, not quite able to make it work. And Azamore's like, no, you're not having that, mate. I'm not having that. If you want to try getting past, I'm not going to make it easy for you now. And he shouldn't make it easy for him either. Obviously, you can defend as long as you do it safely. Oh, my goodness me. I've just seen a Mercedes go so far wide at turn 13. I thought they were going to end up at the next racetrack. We've got a move going on a little bit further up the field. It's Gonk. He's trying to have a look at Stringy B. So Stringy B's fallen off the car ahead. He's now in the clutches of Gonk. Now, DRS is not active for the drivers yet that we know of. We may get notification of it becoming active. We may not. But when the DRS does get activated, that is a surefire sign that the track is beginning to dry up. That's your...
RTB's pushing.
He is. He's not giving Mr. Hamilton a breath of relaxation, is he? So go on then, Ray. While I take a drink, talk us through these two trying to fight it out up at the front.
Okay. So RDB is going for a wee wider line, trying to get the power down early to cut back in. It's not seemed to help him, but it's getting him closer for this double left-hand turn. Now, it is a double left-hand turn because you wouldn't take it two separate. You just make it one sweeping. Now down here, hard on the brakes, turn it in. RDB's a bit too deep in that. It's going to compromise his exit onto turn 13, and all it is trying to keep the power down in the car going round the corner without the back end kicking out, and Mr. Hamilton's just created a gap in that corner because RPB went deep.
Well, that's the thing, you were right, he did, he went a little bit deep, and you can see all the way down the straight how much that cost him. It's cost him a lot. Question is Roadrunner close enough behind him to do anything about it? At this time, you'd have to say no. But with 10 laps to go of this race, you never know what can happen. Millstar, he's got himself up to 4th place. And I tell you what, I want to have a quick chat about this guy. And more than likely, while I'm trying to do it, I'll probably end up getting disconnected. How can I put it? He had a reserve drive in the World Series last week. As English boy, he's out of the race. We don't know what's happened. He has the option now, if he wants to, send Ray a message, let him know what happened. It could just be that the race was not going to plan, setup not working, not enjoying it, time to pull over, let the others go for it. Now, Millstar, as I mentioned, he had the opportunity of a reserve drive in the World Series in Australia. And I know that he was very, very nervous about taking part in the race and also how the race went. He did message me afterwards saying, how did I get on? And to be honest, I said, I don't know, I've not seen the race. But what I do know is, one of the things that's changed in front row racing this season compared to last season is the drivers now have the opportunity in the league races, the World Championship and the World Series, of viewing all of the other drivers' footage and reporting them for extending corners, cutting corners, dodgy pit entries, right? So they've got that opportunity to look at other people's footage and go, hang on a minute, this guy's done this. It then gets checked. If it's correct, then penalties can be applied. Now, I know that at least one, possibly two drivers wanted to check out how Millstar got on. This is what happens. A new guy comes along, seems to do quite well, and they get checked out. It's just what happens, and there was no report against him. The comment I was given was, I had a look at his race to see how he was getting on. There's nothing I could report him for, and that is a fantastic thing to hear about. I might have to go and watch his...
From the drivers.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. That's coming from one of the competitors from within the race. So it's like, and not being daft, I mean, as frustrated as it might be to sit there and go, if he's done ETLs and he gets a penalty, I could gain a place, right? As frustrating as it might be to sit there and go, you know what, he's done nothing wrong. It's also a really, really good thing. At least then, having viewed that as a driver, you'll go, you know what, he's all right. He may not be super fast, but he's all right. The speed will come at a later time. But right now, we've got Stringy B under attack from Gonk in 6th place, in 5th. Who are you watching there, Ray? Probably the same people, I bet.
I've been watching these for the last lap. Parts of it, Stringy B strong, and parts of the lap, Gonk strong, so it's two different setups.
I mean, that's
two different lines. They're not both putting the same line, they're completely different.
I mean, that's the thing with this track. You're going to get different types of setups. If someone's gone for speed, they'll be fast in the final sector and half of sector 1. If someone's gone for grip, they'll be so much faster in that middle sector. So it's very difficult to overtake on occasion. Oh, we've got a car into the pits. That's Stringy B. He's gone for the pit lane. I don't know if anybody else has already gone for the pits, but Stringy B may be one of the first. So he's going for a new set of tyres already.
Yeah, it's only Stringy B. Sorry, I thought there was two.
Yeah, well,
pit crew's out, but it's only one.
Ferrari, they are out. So it's hammer time. He's in 12th place at the moment as he comes into the pits. We've not really been able to see how he's got on coming through the order, but we'll try and keep an eye on him through the rest of the race. Now, Mr. Hamilton 44, he's pulled away from RDB. He's pulled away quite a bit. I say quite a bit. It's 2.8 seconds is that gap, but it's hammer time. Sorry, Mr. Hamilton 44, he appears to be lagging around a little bit. Now, this is a situation is starting to look a little bit similar to what Adam 4600 was having in the World Series race last week. So this is where, again, it'd be interesting if we can find out whether Mr. Hamilton 44 is hardwired into his car or whether wirelessly implanted into that vehicle. Now, RDB in 2nd place. He's going to have to be really, really careful of F1 Roadrunner, who is... He's less than a second behind him. He's going to have to be really, really close. Really, really close. I don't mean close, I mean careful. But are any of these three going to make their way into the pits? It looks like the leader is. The leader is into the pits. 2nd place into the pits. 3rd place into the pits. Oh, RDB's gone deep in the pit lane.
And so it's Millstar. Millstar's hitting the kitty litter.
Yep. Now that gravel trap there, that's a gravel trap that Lewis Hamilton got himself stuck in. Whoa, there's another car gone flying into the pit lane.
You had a crash between Twish Royalty and John Rhinos in the pit lane.
I saw one of the cars go in there at an unbelievable rate of knots. So, pit lane.
And everybody's pitting.
Yep.
Most people.
Most who haven't already are. It's hammer time 44. Is he going to be jumping cars here while they're in the pits? This is a situation where ideally he wants to get himself ahead of all of these cars around turn 1. He has just managed to squeeze through. That's going to put him up to 9th place. Whoa, as Will Butler and John Rhinos, they're trying to mate the McLaren with the Red Bull. Honda will not be pleased about that, as Ray shows off how dodgy his mobile phone ringtone is. What was it? That's the house phone. Okay. Anyway. Right, okay, so who is ahead of It's Hammer Time? It's Drew. Drew is in 8th place. He's not far behind Stringy B. Now, Stringy B has pitted. I don't know if Drew has yet. Let's see how far behind. Oh, look at this. This is actually very, very close, you know, with RDB in 4th place, with a Ferrari of F1 Roadrunner still behind him. But these guys have got Azamore in 3rd place, who hasn't pitted yet. And ahead of Azamore is Mr. Hamilton 44, but ahead of him is Gonk 721, who also hasn't pitted yet, so I'm expecting to see him in the pits. No, he's continuing on for another lap. What about Azamor? Is he going to end up in the pit lane? He's down to third place, or not down to third place, he's in third place. Is he going to go for the pits? No, he's continuing on for another lap as well. I've got a feeling they're going to try and stretch it out.
That looks like it's getting brighter.
Now, that could be a very, turn one. It's very, very bright at turn one. What we're going to have to keep an eye out for now is the drier racing line. The more the guys drive on the racing line, the drier it'll get. But as we saw in last night's World Series race, that dry line came very quick, and as soon as it was visible, it was pretty much ready. Oh, Azamor, he's struggling on those worn intermediates now. It's not his teammate effectively that's behind him, but he has led him through anyway. He knows he's struggling a little bit on those tyres. No point holding him up, possibly in a different race. And also, as I was about to say, for someone like Azamor, or for our current race leader, Mr. Gonk, if the track is drying up, if they can just eke it out until going on to slick tyres, they're going to get themselves right into this race. But I've got a feeling it's going to be at least another lap or two yet. Mr. Hamilton's pulled away from RDB. RDB's pulled away from Azamor, and Azamor's now got the Ferrari of F1 Roadrunner, behind him, and he's on new Inters, but he's got Millstar right behind him. I can't believe how quickly Millstar and the Red Bull behind him, Stringy B, have sort of caught up. Oh, Roadrunner's close. He's got to be interested in having a look at an overtake down the inside. And see a car ahead, Williams ahead, searching for a bit of water as the Ferrari, having a look into the penultimate corner, decides against it. But all this is allowing Millstar to get close, and it's going to be tricky for him. I reckon this Ferrari driver's he's thinking, go on, go into the pits. He's going into the pits. I think, yes, the Williams has gone for the pit lane. Now, Ray, while you're down there, do you want to have a look whether he's going to gamble going for a set of dry tyres or not? If he gambles it and gets it right, that could be a great call, but I think it's just too soon.
I'll just try and get on him, because everybody's coming back. No, he's on Inters.
So he has gone for another set of intermediate tyres then. So 4 laps to go on set of Inters. Let us know where he comes back out on track, Ray.
Oh, sorry. I've seen things coming out. For
another pit crew?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to have a 11th. Well, I'm having a quick look at its hammer time at the moment. So it'll be Azamort, possibly Twist Royalty or Drew. It could be the Sauber. Drew. Yeah, it's the Sauber getting another set of tyres for Drew. I'm not sure if he... Sorry, go on.
He hasn't pitted, and he's coming round turn 13 now, so he's went lap 10 on these tyres.
Well, I asked whether anyone might try and push it to lap 14 and whether it'll work.
It's definitely getting lighter. It's lighter down that back straight than it was last lap.
Now, I tell you what, if he can keep going on those set of tyres and go straight to a set of dry tyres, he could end up leading this race, because if it does go dry, everybody else is going to have to pit for a set of dry tyres.
He's in the pits.
So, what is Gonk going to go for then? Is he going to go for another set of intermediates? See, I'd be surprised if he does, unless he was just trying to eke it out, but lost too much time. There's RDB, so he hasn't really gained enough time to really make it work, unless he's going on to dry tyres now, but it ain't dry enough. No. It's a set of Inters. Yeah. Really then, he would have been better off pitting lap 7 or 8, putting those Inters on. He's now going to come out the pits. Behind it's Hammer Time 44, who's ran a little wide into turn 1, perhaps just given a little bit of space. Very easy to run wide around this turn 1. It's a corner I know a lot of people do hate. Now, Gonk, he's on brand new intermediate tyres. He's now got the chance to really try and attack. So, Ray, I reckon you should keep an eye on these two as we just have a quick look at who else is around. Will Butler's not too far behind them. John Rhinos, he's having a battle with Twist Royalty. If it gives us a decent camera view, there we go. So Twist Royalty and John Rhinos in 9th and 10th place, having their own little bit of a ding-dong. We're not in America, so that's not a snack. It just means a battle. Oh, Twist trying to pop the nose of that Mercedes where the Red Bull doesn't want it to be. And I tell you what, these two, John Rhinos and Twist Royalty, they're not very far behind the battle that Ray's watching at the moment. Oh, John's gone defensive. That's got Twist Royalty all kinds of sideways. And these two have got Azamor on a brand new set of intermediate tyres who could start catching these guys up. Oh, Twist Royalty up the inside in around 13. Has he made it work? No. But he is right up that gearbox. He's got a bit of slipstream. Pulls out to where there's a little bit more water. This could help him in the braking zone. So side by side they go then into turn 14, and he's managed to get ahead. Now I've just heard Ray make the noise of either dropping some kids off at school or spotting some action on the track.
It's hammer time 44. His rear end is sliding all over the place compared to Gonk's.
Well, it's possible that he's got a slightly less steep rear wing, a little less aeros on the back of that Ferrari, could help him in the straights but not in the traction zones in these tricky conditions. Also, don't forget, the drivers do have the choice of whether they want some traction control in their car or not. So the car behind may have a little bit of TC in, which could give them the benefit in the traction areas. I'm fairly sure it's hammer time. I'm fairly sure he is a no assist runner. I could be wrong, but I've got a feeling he hasn't got any traction control on that Ferrari, so it definitely can't be a Schumacher Ferrari from the dominant days, although that was only rumours.
And I just want to say to Hybrid Nick, he should try it or watch Van Wilder, because it gets changed. It's not chocolate sauce, it's baby oil that the guy uses, and you'll see what we mean when it's slidey.
I'm not even going to comment on that. It's not late enough in the evening to comment. Okay, let's have a quick look back up at the front. Mr. Hamilton, 44, he's pulled out a nice healthy gap ahead of RDB. I tell you what, a few of these guys are starting to struggle now with the exit of the final corner. You don't really want to be getting over there too much. Now, as I mentioned early on, in the FRR-idays event, there is no additional stewarding, there is no penalties for exceeding track limits. But if you happen to be going off the track a lot, your chances of getting picked to be on the reserve driver list are less and less. I mean, it is difficult for us to know whether drivers are doing ETO lifts. That's the way to avoid penalties in the leagues. But what I wouldn't want for any of the drivers is to be picked as a reserve and then do a reserve drive and then end up getting disqualified for doing too many ETF. Not good for the driver. I mean, you could say it's not good for the league, but I mean, if that situation occurs, and when it has occurred in the past, the drivers it's happened to have improved their driving. So if it does happen, it's actually good for the league. But it's the driver that I'm more concerned about, because it can be quite a bit of a dent. I mean, let's say, for example, Millstar, in his reserve driver in Australia, had he thought he'd done really well and then he got reported for loads of ETLs, he'd be gutted. But he was reported for none, and I do know that he was checked, and that is a situation where that's a better situation for the driver. Now Millstar, he's having a look at attacking a Ferrari here. Millstar's a driver that when he first joined the FRR-idays Cup, he struggled a little bit with exceeding track limits. It's what a lot of F1 drivers are used to, extending a bit, cutting a lot. But when it comes to doing league races, it can be very, very different. And Millstar worked on it. That's why he got his opportunity of being a reserve driver. Now, he's really gaining on the Ferrari ahead of him, F1 Roadrunner. I don't know if he's going to have enough track to try and attack. The best thing he could do here is just try and keep it close, and then around turn 13, get very, very close and try and overtake down the straight. But anyway, as we're on the last lap, Ray, what are you watching?
I'm still watching. It's hammer time and Gonk. They're having quite a good battle. Gonk's getting closer, and could he do it this lap? If he sets it up properly, he could do it this lap. Hammer Time's struggling with his rear end, so the back of the car, it's a bit skitterish.
It's a bit skitterish. Well, I mean, Hammer Time has been on his tyres a little bit longer than Gonk has been on his. We will try and jump to that battle soon as Mr. Hamilton 44 is making his way around turn 13. So he's only got one straight to go until he takes victory here in China. RDB looks fairly comfortable in second place. Roadrunner in third, and Millstar's dropped off the back of him. He's not going to be able to attack. Stringy B is in fourth place. It's Hammer Time is in sixth, and he's not that far behind Stringy B, to be honest, but like you say, he's still got Gonk all over the back of him. Okay, Mr. Hamilton 44 is on the final corner for the final time, so he's going to cross the line then in China to take the victory in the FRR-idays Cup. Okay, let's go and get ourselves... If it'll let me change, it won't. I can't actually go and spectate Gonk, and it's Hammer Time. Oh, Stringy B, so wide. He's nearly done what Petrov did a few years ago. John Rhinos and Azamore now having a bit of a tussle into the final corner, and I tell you what, I'm pleased for John Rhinos here. I'm not so pleased about the way he took that corner then, but he's probably not finished as far behind the leaders as he thought may be possible. So, improvements in lap time perhaps made in these wet conditions, perhaps a little improvement of the way of taking the corner. But then it's easy for a driver, for example, to take as much corner as he did, trying to give another guy room. But that's why in front row racing, if you did that, you do an ETO lift, you don't get a penalty for cutting a corner. But anyway, Drew will be the last to cross the line as he's trying to do it completely sideways and just about manages to do so. Well, a very, very interesting session there. Very difficult, I would say, in those tricky conditions around this particular circuit. But Mr. Hamilton 44 has taken victory ahead of the Williams and the Ferrari of RDB and F1 Roadrunner. I think these three guys, and it's Hammer Time and Millstar, are definitely going to be drivers to really keep an eye on for future events. Okay, Ray.
Sorry.
That's all right. Let's, as we're having a quick look at the timing screen, if you were going to have to try and pick a driver of the day out of what you've seen there, who would stand out a little bit for you?
Who would stand out for me? It'd have to be Mr. Hamilton for it. Those two, the top two stand out for me.
I'll tell you what, there's a lot of drivers' names on the race directors list for exceeding track limits, which to a degree can be kind of expected in the FRR-idays events, but also in wet conditions in the FRR-idays events. One of the most difficult things for the drivers to do is if they see a car ahead, perhaps being a bit cheeky and taking too much corner, to not do it themselves. It's very easy to get into that sense of they're doing it, so I've got to do it to have a chance. But actually, if you don't do it, that's more noticeable than those who do. Okay, so you said, what was it, Mr. Hamilton, RDB?
Yeah, and I'd like to see Millstar in there. He was one as well.
Especially considering that he nearly binned it completely in the pit lane. He did very well to sort of be there or thereabouts towards the end. But I must admit, I mean, Mr. Hamilton 44, RDB, had a very, very good battle in the early half of that race. Opened up a little bit around pit stop window time, but a very, very interesting race. Well, okay, that's pretty much going to bring us to the end of the FRR-idays Cup event here at China. So, what should we talk about now then, Ray?
I was to remind you how to get in touch with us.
That's true. I did mention it early on though, I did sneak it in, but I will mention it again. For anyone that's been watching the event here and is interested in joining Front Row Racing on our F1 League or even on our Project Cars Leagues, the way to get involved, find Front Row Racing on Facebook. That's where we do all of our business, and just send a message. There's no entry requirements for the FRR-idays Cup. We have about 18 drivers on the list, and it's effectively a first come, first served. Sometimes drivers will be able to make it, they won't be able to make it. There's no limitations on it. You drive clean, you drive fair, the opportunities of getting onto the reserve driver list become available. Then the opportunity of being chosen by one of the teams to be their reserve driver for an event when they need it becomes available. So that's how to do it. Get in touch with Front Row Racing on Facebook. Okay, next up on the Front Row Racing YouTube channel will be the Project Cars Friday Night League, the PCF, in the LMP2 cars. It's going to be around Silverstone, and it's going to be in about 40 minutes time. It's going to be around 9 o'clock this evening for what should be a 24 lap race, but I will need to quickly double check the laps. I'm fairly sure we got that right. And for anyone that's watching that is involved in the PCF League, be aware, there is a possibility the weather could change around completely at random this evening. In other words, weather's going to be put on random. It might rain, it might not rain, it could get foggy, we just don't know. Tyre wear will be the Pirelli Time 4 for the LMP2s, but that'll be on the Front Row Racing YouTube channel live at about 9 o'clock this evening. And hopefully will be an absolutely fantastic race. Those LMP2s have been very, very interesting. Okay, final thoughts, Ray. Any final thoughts?
Nah.
No.
I'm going to do some testing.
Going to do some testing. That sounds a little bit more like I need to go because I need a poo.
I need to go to the swimming baths.
Very, very well put. Very well put. Okay. Next Friday will be the next FRR-idays Cup event. That'll be round 4 at Bahrain. So for anyone that's interested in joining, that's the circuit to practice at. But I've been Front Row Racing DP, otherwise known as Dave Lays in Beds. He's been Front Row Racing RI, otherwise known as Ray Chell Brooks. And we've been Front Row Racing, and we'll see you all again soon.